Hello, everybody. I'm hopping on. I think I'm going to start this every Tuesday, chatting with somebody. Oh, here's Lauren. She's already here. All right, I'm going to invite you to join. Go live with you. Okay, it should prompt you to join. Hey, Jenna. So, as I was saying, we are going to be doing an IG live every Tuesday. Oh, Lauren, you want to come on with Noka? Let's try that. Let's see if that works. With either someone from the community, another small business owner, just kind of talking about the things that we're all going through, share some stories, introduce you guys to some other brands and cool people doing cool stuff. Lauren, did you see? Oh, I think it's going to work. There you are. There you are. Hello.
Hello.
Happy first IG Live ever.
Hooray.
How are you feeling about it?
Good, I think.
Great.
I had to learn new Instagram technology, so that's always good.
That's cool. This is like the best time for everybody to learn all kinds of new technologies, right?
Yes.
Um, so to kick it off, I think we should say first why we know each other because I think it's a funny story. Do you want me to tell it or do you want to tell it?
Um, I want you to tell it. I'm curious your version.
Sure. So when my mom had breast cancer, when she got diagnosed with stage 4, my parents were living in Baltimore and I was living in Buffalo, New York, working at a museum and wanted to be closer and managed to somehow get a job working in college guidance, even though I had absolutely zero experience doing that at the National Cathedral School in Washington, D.C. And Lauren was one of my students. Um, I loved her then. I love her now. We reconnected 3 years ago.
Yeah, that sounds right. It was right after I moved to Nashville.
Yeah, I saw that Lauren had gone through an accelerator program and was like, hey, you're also a solo founder. Let's start having accountability calls. So we've been doing that ever since, which has been lovely. And since everyone on here probably, or at least on Brilliantly, knows what I'm up to, do you want to share a little bit about your company and what you're doing?
Sure. So my company is called Noka Supply. We are reimagining daily health accessories as fashion accessories. So the first product, for example, is a pill organizer. But instead of the really crappy plastic drugstore Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday version of a pill organizer, it's sort of a high-end, stylish personal accessory. Do you want me to go into all
Yeah, I
the
totally do. I want you to open it up because I have a Nokabox that is the old version, but I have not ever like seen, and I use it not, I don't travel very much now, but I've learned that I'm having a really hard time remembering things. So I'm still using it even though I'm home and even though I only take two different medications, it still helps me track and remember if I took it in the morning and at night. So
Yeah. So this is the AM PM version. We also have one that's just for one a day. You've got your AM dot and your PM dot. It's very discreet. No one's going to know that it's a medication organizer. And then when you're ready to take your pills, you have the days of the week.
oh, nice.
The drawers come out, but they also come out completely. So if you want to just like tip the pills into your hand, you can.
They're bigger than the last one, right?
Oh yeah, these are much bigger. They hold a lot more pills. And you guys can see for filling up each week, the lid comes off completely so that you can just fill it up.
Oh, nice.
The lid goes on. Everything's magnetic. That's really the best part because magnets are magic and it feels cool to use. And yeah, and then when it's closed, it doesn't look like a pill organizer. No one's going to know that you're carrying medication with you. So I use it. I travel all the time for my work. Well, not now with all the COVID lockdowns, but I used to travel all the time. And it was really helpful to not feel like I'm a walking pharmacy with Ziploc bags full of pill bottles, and instead putting everything in this little container. And I don't know, it makes me feel like I kind of have my shit together a little bit.
Yeah, totally. So how come you started with pillboxes? Like what was the reasoning?
So it was initially a research project I did over 10 years ago, where I was just trying to better understand the relationship people had with their medication, and specifically, why don't people take pills the way that they're supposed to? which is a really complicated problem. Medication adherence there's a lot of reasons why someone might not be able to stick to the regimen that their doctor gives them. But I found there's a lot of people who they're capable of remembering. They don't need some sort of fancy, smart pill box or an app or anything else. They just are embarrassed because Western society still has this weird stigma around medication and sort of health management in general. So there's a lot of people who maybe they need to take something at lunch, but they don't take their pills with them because they don't want their coworkers to see it. They don't want to hear comments about, being in your 30s and someone's calling you grandma because you have to take vitamins or prescription medication during the day. So the idea was if we could sort of reframe something like a pill organizer as a fashion accessory, does that change the relationship someone has with their medication? And then in turn, change the relationship they have with their health and maybe make them more likely to take their medication, but also feel that sense of empowerment that, they're not sort of giving in to the need to take medication. They're doing it because it's something that's right for them and they should feel proud of that.
Right.
And then, yeah.
I think it's really interesting. Two things came to mind. One, a lifetime ago when I was working with a design thinking company, we were working with a pharmaceutical company that was dealing with type 2 diabetes, and the rate of compliance, I think, is just, it's like a difficult number to swallow, how hard it is. And I think some of those obstacles about us actually taking our medicine are about how we feel like we're being perceived when we take it out. So it feels important to make that like a more beautiful and less embarrassing experience somehow. And then I also think from a safety perspective, I met an artist who did art out of pill bottles, and she said some people, and she was collecting them. So it was this like call to the public to participate in this art project. And there were people who would mail in their prescription bottles with the label on them and said like, whatever the medication was for. And some people would put like a letter about why they were taking it. And maybe it's like antidepressants, maybe it's a cancer drug, whatever it is. And tell her this whole beautiful story. And other people would like scrub off the label because they didn't want anyone to know. And I think we just as humans have such a complicated relationship, and those bottles, you don't want to lose that, right? Like it has so much personal information about you on there. So I think it's almost a safety thing too, to have that you're carrying around something that doesn't have all of your personal information on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think something that was really interesting once I was digging into all the research, especially around medication, is what are the other solutions out there? Because there's a lot of companies trying to tackle this problem of medication adherence, but it oftentimes looks like basically tech-enabled pill boxes or things with apps that remind you or more creepily sort of track whether or not you're taking it, which for some people is necessary. And for some people that does give them a sense of security that they've taken something and that sort of tech is taking over. But for a lot of people, it feels very paternalistic, right? If I don't take something, I don't need a text sent to a family member or a doctor saying I've missed something. I'm an adult, I can take care of myself. I just want to feel like I'm doing the right thing to take care of myself.
Right. Totally. So what's the bigger vision? Like what's the next product?
So I don't know what product number 2 is yet. I'm still figuring out how to run a business, figuring out how to make money. But the long-term vision is to really go deep into travel, the intersection of staying healthy while on the road. Yeah. Partly because that's personal for me, but also you take any problem in health and layer travel on top of it, and it becomes that much more difficult. So that could go a variety of different directions. One way is to look at other things like the pill organizer, but specific to different sort of medication or conditions. Diabetes being a great example. There's a lot of sort of tools and items that someone who's diabetic needs to carry with them throughout the day that could use a stylish upgrade. Yeah. Both on style, but also functionality. How do you just make it easier to bring with you? But then on the other end of the spectrum, sort of not medical or condition specific, just looking at general health and wellness while on the road is really big. I mean, jet lag, sleeping, germs, general hygiene, the stuff you use like in your dop kit, you open it up and your toothbrush and your razor both fell to the bottom and are touching each other. Little things like that could probably improve. So that and everything in between is kind of on the table. I'm still figuring out where exactly I go. I just know that travel is going to be part of it.
Yeah, totally. I wonder, have you thought about this? And I don't know why I've never asked you this before, since we speak every week about how we're, and how COVID especially is changing things right now. But have you thought about COVID pivots as it relates to travel? Because it really seems like how we think about travel and what we need to do that safely is totally different now. Or not totally different, but more top of mind.
Yeah, so it's actually funny. I've been thinking a lot about this the last couple of weeks. It's it's not, yes, I'm pivoting a little bit, but it's actually pivoting back to the idea I had at the beginning of the year. So when I had an initial version of the pillbox. I launched a new version in April, and the plan was to launch as a travel company. And then COVID lockdowns happened like a month before launch. So we
Right.
completely tabled travel. So if you look at our website and our Instagram, all our photos are travel because we'd already hired the photographer. But other than that, we don't really talk about travel at all because it's like, well, no one's going anywhere. How do we do this? It's not relevant. And now that it's been a few months, the world is starting to open back up again. People need to travel, and health is that much more top of mind. So if anything, it takes that original idea and makes it 1,000% even more relevant than it was when I originally had it.
Mhm.
So a mini pivot, and then I'm going back to travel, but with a much renewed focus on what exactly about travel is important right now.
Awesome. So if people want to follow along or want to reach out or have ideas for products, where can they find you?
So definitely on Instagram at Noka Supply, the account that I'm speaking to you right now. We're also going to be, so Instagram, signing up for our email newsletter on our website. And then in the next month or so, depending on if I can get my act together, we'll be launching a survey that people can fill out on their website so that we can start tracking what concerns do people have, what kind of products do people want to see redesigned at that intersection between health and getting back out into the world.
Awesome. I love that. I need to add myself to your newsletter. I don't know that I get it, but I would love to be on it. So if I forget, remind me.
I
Um,
will.
and to everybody who's watching or who sees this later when we post it in the feed, you'll be seeing more of Lauren. We're going to be doing a couple fun things together. So stay tuned, and we would both love to hear from you. Is there anything else you want to share about what you're up to, or before we
No,
let everybody
that's it.
go on with their day? Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for joining, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Yes. See you
Okay.
tomorrow.
Have a good day.
Bye.